For me, art is about translation, translating what you have in your head, which in the case of music, it's not even sounds. It's something that's in there. You know, in the case of a painter, maybe he has an image that he can, in a musician, no. Musician he has nothing to project on. Oh no, it's something that you feel, it's a feeling, and you have to translate it into notes. And of course, you have to start with something. Because things don't come out of nowhere. They come out of your unconscious memory or something in your emotions, who knows, that tells you, I'll use this rhythm. Boom, 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 boom. And then I'll construct on this and try to figure out, what is this harmony that I feel? Is it this? No. Is it this? And sometimes you go crazy because it's hard, you know, and sometimes it's hard. Get creative. People have to get creative because that's part of life. It's part of reproduction. Reproduction is create. And even if you're not an artist, you can be a creative architect and a creative lawyer, a creative whatever, a creative mathematician. That's basically what I teach, is creative thinking. And I think that it's something that should be more spread out. You know, more people should look for thinking outside the box instead of simply being comfortable with their little niche, because that's when the changes come. That's when the things really start to happen. Again, that's what I teach more than music. Music, I think, is the excuse. It's the tool. What I teach is, besides the composition of songwriting, a garage band and percussion with the garbage cans and buckets. Oh, and they love it because I have them create the mix. I don't tell them what to play. I never tell them what to play, what to write, where to go. I ask them, what's your idea? Can we use this? Okay, what else? And we start creating as a group, right? And that process, the kids really enjoy it, even though sometimes they get frustrated because their idea doesn't float. So, you know, how can you come up with these metaphors and these, and it's really amazing. It's emotional. Do you want the full story? When I was a little kid in Argentina, until the age of 6, I remember all these big family reunions where everybody would sing, would dance, would play instruments. There were opera singers, there were tango singers. There were a lot of people that did art. But I was a little kid and I didn't care too much about it. I wanted to play. So when we came to the United States, my mother, who was a piano teacher, said, he has to learn music. I had no idea what she was talking about. So since they couldn't buy me a piano, it was too expensive, they bought me the next best thing, an accordion. Now this accordion was from here to my knees. I was 8 years old and I was trying to play it. I hated the instrument. I hated music. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. One day I rebelled and I said, enough. A disaster at home. Wow, you don't want to learn music. So I said no, you know, and I couldn't continue. When I was in middle school, 2 things happened that really shook my world. One was the Beatles. When I saw the Beatles, I said, hey, music is fun, and they're not playing accordion. So I got into the guitar. I wanted to play guitar. But then another thing happened that was even more intense. My music teacher, he organized everybody in 2 groups. The ones that could sing, the ones who couldn't, they gave them a violin, a cello, a trumpet, whatever. So she heard me sing and she put me in the chorus. That was the best musical experience of my life. When I would open my mouth and everybody else would sing as if my voice was everybody else's voice. It was really intense. So I picked up the guitar, I started to write songs, I started to do things. That's how I started with music, and from then on, I never stopped. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I like being a teacher, because maybe in the future, I know that most of my students will not be artists. They'll probably be lawyers, whatever. But there will be some that will become artists. And who knows, maybe they'll remember me. So it's a little selfish on my part, I have to say. But that's a great part that I enjoy of teaching. Actually, songwriting I've even done kindergarten. 1st grade can handle it, and they come up with amazing things. And from then on, any grade. Yeah, and one of the things that I teach is garage band. And at the end of the year, we have all these pieces of music that they can share. I prefer to have a direction, all right? So, for example, when we were in the pandemic, I did a whole bunch of pieces based on steampunks. So I started to investigate. I saw art, drawings of different characters, and I started to download some of these photos, and what the photo inspired me, I composed for the character. At the end, it turned out to be a physical theater piece. It was supposed to be without text, only with physical, with acrobats, with things like that. Yes, I was introduced to theater by a friend of mine, Hernanje, who was a director, the son of one of the greatest playwright and actors in Argentina, Juan Bellia. Hernanje, like his father, wrote plays, and they were all humor. They had this group put together of 5 people that did this sort of a Monty Python sort of thing, but they did full play. They needed music. And a friend of mine who was doing music for them that didn't have too many means, he was just a guitar player, suggested that I work with him. So they got us in touch, and from then on, I started to work in theater. With him, I've done close to 10 productions. One of them in Spain, which we were hired, both of us were hired for the opening of the season of the National Theater of Spain, which was a big thing, for me, the National Theater. And so it was very intense. I spent 3 months in Madrid working there, with the cast and everything, composing in the rehearsals. And it was very, very interesting, very challenging. But at that point, I was used to understanding what directors want. Directors are not musicians, so they can't tell you, I want this like this in musical terms. They say the mood, and they say, and you have to try to interpret what they want. And from then on, it's trial and error. Does this work? Yes, it works. No, it doesn't. That's the drawing board. So it was a pretty intense job, but I loved it. I loved it. And I got a chance to work with the cast, have them play instruments, have them sing. I taught one of them to play accordion for the show. So, it was very, very nice. And I fell in love with Madrid, and now in next July, I plan to move over. Oh, it's just I like to investigate. Otherwise, I get bored. I like to break rules. So every time I compose, like now I composed a piece that I'm finishing up with my friends that from all over the world, that they send me their recordings and their videos, and I'm putting together another piece that's in 11/4, which is a very weird metric form. But I need to have fun a little bit with it, and they have fun with it too when they have to play it. Going back to the tango, obviously tango was in my culture from the beginning, especially having a couple of cousins that were tango singers. So I decided, well, I have all these MIDI things and all these electronic things. What, can we do tango with this? So I said, well, to give it the touch of tango, we need a bandoneon. You know what a bandoneon is? It's a typical tango instrument. It's like an accordion, but it's like a cylinder. It's like this. It has buttons on it. Some call it the Argentinian accordion. It's not. It's a bandoneon. The thing is that I found a friend that knew somebody that played bandoneon, so I went to his house. I made him play a couple of things, random, play something. I took that home, I chopped it up, and I started to edit, which I love to do, and that's what came out. Oh, I see the one. That's a guitar. It's a guitar made with a muffler. That's part of a project that I did in Hackensack High School, where my daughter used to be. We did a program called Music Access, where we put together a band with the support of the whole school. And I was in the middle of all this trying to juggle everything. But the thing is, we put together part of the marching band that played brasses, part of the kids who played rock and roll bands because of the play. And then we made a lot of instruments. We even made a drum set made out of garbage cans, buckets, garbage lids, and things like that. It was a program that combined all these things. Oh, and 4 singers. So we did classic rock. And one of the instruments that we made was a guitar. We also made a cello with a large garbage. Actually, it was supposed to be a bass, but it didn't work well as a bass. And the bass player said, let's try it with the bow. And it was perfect. So we did a Beatles song, Because, with a cello. You can find them online. If you look Music Access, it's online. I think that it's just another tool. I know that a lot of people don't agree with me. They say, oh, AI is terrible because it makes you. I think it's a tool, and it's very difficult to use. You have to know how to ask. It's the art of asking the right questions. You know what I mean? But you have to, you see these incredible productions, they're not done in 5 minutes. That guy worked a lot on it, maybe a couple of months. So it's another technique. Yeah, you could do music, but that's been around for a long time. Right now, there are programs that have presets of music in GarageBand. The kids put together music from presets, which is okay. It's just another tool. I'm not against AI. I think that in the wrong hands, like everything, in the wrong hands, it's terrible. And in the right hands, it could be a very creative tool that could make us see images that normally just are in our heads. You know what I mean? Because I really believe that it's a good platform, you know? It's a nice platform. And visually it looks nice. You put something on Artsee.